Hello and welcome again today. Thank you so much for staying tuned. We've been on poultry science, this time particularly some management practices in poultry production. Now, we've already looked at in the previous video feeding and watering, and today we'll be looking at vaccination and also deworming. Now, what is vaccine? Vaccination is actually an act of introducing or vaccinating birds, or introducing a vaccine into the body of not just bird, any animal. It could be humans also, vaccination. But in this time, because we're talking about the poultry, we're looking at the birds. Particularly, I want to narrow it down to birds and maybe more particularly into chickens. Now, a vaccine is a substance that is introduced into the body, a vaccine. Let me write vaccine. Vaccine is a substance that is aimed at boosting the immune system of an organism, a living organism. It's different from drugs. Like I said in one of the previous videos, that drugs are aimed at curing diseases, but vaccines are aimed at boosting the immune system, the innate immune system, so that your immune system itself will fight the pathogen, the disease-causing microorganism. So, the both of them are good in poultry production. It's usually better to to boost the immune system so that your immune system will be able to fight the pathogens themselves. Now, what are viruses? More often than not, vaccination is done against viruses. Viruses are very tricky. Now, it is said that viruses are the smallest living organisms, and also sometimes it will be vaccination against bacteria. And these ones can stay on, they have both living and non-living characteristics. That is one of the very interesting thing about viruses. So, when they're in the host, for example, now in the chicken, the host means the organisms where they begin to live in and spread, cause a disease condition, and perhaps even kill the organism. Now, the host, what they do is this. What the vaccine does is this. When a vaccine is given to an organism, let's say, for example, to the chicken, it is usually an attenuated or a weakened form of it, which is live attenuated. It is the same pathogen that causes that sickness or that ailment, but in a weakened form, small quantity, introduced into the body system of that chicken. What that does is this: the chicken's immune system rises up, sees this small enemy, fights the enemy, defeats the enemy, but does something special, something unique, keeps the memory of that disease, that pathogen, that enemy in it, retains the memory of it, so that subsequently when it sees that organism, it remembers how it dealt with it the previous time, and it will also fight it and defeat them. So let's take, for example, now a particular disease. In human being, for example, polio, you give a vaccine, the same disease, the same virus that causes it, you introduce it to the body. So if it's ever going to come again, the body remembers, oh, I've dealt with this some years ago or some months ago. So it's going to use the same memory of how it had defeated it previously to fight against it, to defeat it. So this is just a layman's way of putting it, so we understand. There's a more technical way of putting it. Remembering, fighting the pathogen, keeping the memory, and then using the same system to defeat it when it comes as a disease causing organism this time. So vaccines contains a weakened form, also called attenuated form, or inactivated, not activated form. Now, or small parts of the pathogen that you want to fight against. Now, it could be live attenuated. But there's something we need to note. You don't vaccinate a sick bird. Again, you don't vaccinate a sick bird. In humans, you also don't vaccinate a sick child or a sick person. You know why? The person's immune system is low. At that time, it's just struggling. So if you introduce another pathogen in form of a vaccine, is going to add to the enemy soldiers in quotes, to defeat that person, that living human being. Now, if the same thing applies to poultry, if a bird is sick, you use drugs. Drugs will help kill the pathogen that is already causing the animal to be sick. But if you introduce a vaccine, the vaccine contains a pathogen that is already in attenuated form. Those ones will now come and join the already existing enemy to kill that chicken. So what you do, you don't vaccinate any organism that is already sick. It's when the organism is strong and healthy that you vaccinate. It also applies to humans. Now, I know a case of a baby that died, was vaccinated when the baby was sick. It's an unfortunate situation, so don't do it for animals or for humans. Take that note, don't vaccinate when the animal is sick. The next thing is deworming. Deworming is the act of expelling worms. Expelling worms. Now, what do worms do? Worms latch onto the intestine or to any part of the body, internal organ or inside, or it sometimes could be any of the part of the body, and they have structures to latch on, to begin to suck the blood of the organism. Now, what is it in the blood that worms are special about, or they are interested about? It is the nutrients in the blood. Now, let me take you back to elementary digestion. When you consume your food, you break them down by digestion, and then the food is now absorbed into the bloodstreams. In the blood, it is now taken to every part of the body, feeding the cells so that the cells can grow, multiply by division, and then grow again. Cell division, that is the energy required for this thing, for the cells to grow, to divide, and then grow again, multiply, divide. Cell division and multiplication, providing the food. Now, it is the same food, the same energy, the nutrients that the worms are interested in. So when they latch on in the intestine or any of the gut, any part in the gut or any part in the body, they are sucking out blood and sucking nutrients to feed themselves and also to proliferate. The more they increase, this leaner the organism becomes, and the organism may die as a result of worm infestation. So what you do in handling chicken is this: from time to time, periodically, sometimes 3 months, every 3 months or 2 months, you administer an antihelmintic, which is a worm expeller to get rid of the worms. Now, even with human beings, you do the same. From time to time, they advise that you deworm yourself 3 times, like every 3 months. The same with chicken, you do the same, you expel worms. Now, in this place, you can have flat worms. These are very stubborn. Round worms are scarce too. Now, what the worms do, I've already said that they actually compete with the organism for the food that it has already. So one of the best things to do for yourself is to use antihelmintic drug to expel them. I want to thank you for staying tuned. We'll continue in the next class. I don't want this video to be longer than this. If you gained insight, kindly share, like, make a comment, make your contribution. You can ask questions. Thank you so much. Let's see you next class.